During the course of game development, things very deliberately change midway, often just for artistic reasons, but sometimes remnants of those original design decisions mistakenly remain in the final game in curious ways, viewable without cheats, mods, hacks, or trainers. So let's have a look at some of them. In Tomb Raider Legend, you are going to be able to use the flares you get in the Peru flashback level elsewhere in the game as a standard mechanic alongside the PLS. They ended up keeping the PLS and got rid of the flares, and I can see why, since it's kind of pointless having two different light sources. However, in Croft Manor, when you go around collecting your gear, when you pick up the PLS, on the table is actually still the flare, which just transforms into the PLS when you collect it. In the ending cinematic of Temple of Xi'an, Lara returns all the way to the start of the level to see Bartoli using the dagger on himself, but the surroundings are strangely adorned with brown marble where there wasn't any before. It appears in the beta version there was going to be brown marble used to decorate the temple, but core design changed it, and since cinematics in this old engine take place in their own mini quote-unquote level, someone forgot to update that version's textures to remove the marble. This was not corrected in the remaster, by the way, not that I mind. I used to wonder if the initial room was just a false replica chamber of where the real dagger was hidden as a trap for thieves, and when Lara supposedly returns to it, she actually just finds her way to the real dagger chamber. That would explain why the room is decorated differently, why the platform doesn't drop for the cultists, and why on one side is a jade decorated corridor that the Fiaminera enter and exit through. But because you can see by taking the camera up from the opening room to the upper walkway that the start does conclusively connect properly with the end of level cinematic version, it proves that this is the same room. So I guess you could explain that the jade adorned exit was concealed by what looks like it could be a curtain that the Fiaminera opened, and used a mechanism that could have extended the bridge from that side, which also serves to lock the trapdoors from dropping and retract the bridge from the side Lara entered from. The upper exit Lara emerges from is positioned differently and the dagger pedestal is rotated, but I think that's inconsequential enough. The warrior monk who returned the dagger to the temple in ancient times placed it in a room that looks completely different though. That's either down to the FMV artists and level designers having very different interpretations for the same place, or someone moved the dagger after he returned it. It's probably the former though. In this early cut FMV, we can see the original design for the Skion was quite different. It would later be changed to this design that we're more familiar with. However, on the pedestals you collect them from is the original Skion design, which remains etched on the surface that they forgot to change. This is viewable in Tomb of Qualopec, Tomb of Tihocan, and Sanctuary of the Skion. Interestingly, the sundial in Palace Midas also has this, but it just so happens to resemble a sundial anyway, so it kind of works out. Originally in Tomb Raider 1, Lara's footsteps were going to sound like she's wearing tap shoes or stripper stilettos. This was changed to what sounds like Wellington boots in mud at a low bitrate or something. Can anyone tell? But in cinematics, you can hear the original Janice-inspired footstep sounds. Similarly, the Tomb Raider 2 pistol sounds are still used in cinematics in Tomb Raider 3. Even though they were changed to the final sound we have in gameplay, I suppose just at a later stage than when the cinematic audio was done. At the end of Nevada Desert, Lara is accused of wearing hot pants even though she's clearly not.
Maybe she's an eco-terrorist or something.
And they wear hot pants, huh?
This line would have been voiced when she still wore the short shorts before Core got round to creating the blue camouflage trousers outfit. They just never updated the line, so it makes no sense in the final game. I wouldn't have wanted Saber Interactive to use AI to make the MP say, and they wear crop tops, huh? At the end of Temple of Karnak, you finish the level by sliding into this room that previews the starting room of the next level, the Great Hypostyle Hall. except when you start the next level, you're suddenly dropped into a completely different looking room. It turns out in the beta version, the start of this level does maintain continuity and resemble the preview version of the room from the Temple of Karnak exit. I guess someone at Core Design decided to change the design of the opening room in the Great Hippostyle Hall, but didn't go back to make sure the overlapping room in Temple of Karnak matched. Interestingly, this was fixed in the remaster by making the Temple of Karnak preview version resemble the redesigned version. Jean-Yves in Last Revelation, by coincidence or not, resembles a real archaeologist called Jean-Yves Empereur, who is also French and has also led archaeological research in Alexandria. He was understandably not happy that his likeness was used without his permission, and according to tvtropes.org, he said if he was just asked in advance, he could have even have been a consultant. Either way, the character was hastily removed from the in-development chronicles. In early versions of the game, you can see that it was Jean-Yves before his head was shaved, shirt recolored, and name changed to Charles Kane for the final version. Except in editing, one frame of Jean slipped through between camera cuts. This frame was removed in the remaster though. The shotgun guy was originally going to have green cargo trousers in Tomb Raider 2. This was later changed to khaki coloured trousers for the final release. Fair enough, except they accidentally left the original model in the cinematic where Lara speaks to the monk. I always wondered about that, and when I saw the beta version has green trousers, it suddenly explained it. Partway through Tomb Raider 2013's development, Lara's non-Tress Effects ponytail was going to be made up of a few independently moving clumps of hair strands. This was later changed to a singular ponytail mesh resembling a giant dead slug, although in the accompanying screenshot for the Fire Arrow tutorial, it shows the original model with the previous hair rendering method. This was not corrected for the definitive edition either. The definitive edition released in 2014 while Rise of the Tomb Raider was still in development. When the push object tutorial screenshot was taken for Rise, the definitive edition Lara model must have been the latest version of Lara at that point. As you can see, it's not Rise Lara here, but the 2014 definitive edition model. The significantly less hobo looking fringe gives it away. When you meet Janice in Angel of Darkness, she tells you Bouchard used to run a club, quote unquote,
across the road,
which makes no sense since she's standing right in front of the entrance. Well, in the Prima strategy guide, which would have been compiled pre-game release, we can see in a few shots of the conversation that she was originally to stand the other side of the road, much further away from the club than in the final game, which would have made that line make sense. I would guess her location was changed so players would be less likely to miss her and wander the streets for hours, much like her. One of the more well-known tantalizing bits of cut content in Angel of Darkness were the dual pistols. You were supposed to be able to combine two individual pistols into a pair, the second one being retrieved from the cleaner according to the Prima guide, but when the combined feature got cut, so did the possibility of using dual pistols. That would have been one thing, but that remnant of cut content is still clearly visible when she wields her twin pistols in cinematics. The Prima guide also details a secondary ammo type for the shotgun in Angel of Darkness, spread cartridges. But this was removed from the game and I can see why. Did anyone actually even use the wide shot ammo in Last Revelation or Chronicles? Either way, there is one ghostly moment where it very briefly remains. When you call the dumbwaiter in Le Serpent Rouge, the spread cartridges are there ready to be picked up before suddenly transforming into the standard cartridges as the hatch opens. This was corrected in the remaster. The demo level of Last Revelation is the Lost Library. In the main hall, the doors are all level with the wall, but in the final version, the doors in the main hall were recessed into the wall. Random but okay, except in the next room, when you look back, you can see the doors are back to being level with the wall again. This was not corrected in the remaster, in case you were curious. pardon my French, but have you ever wondered what the HECK this area is for? I used to think it was just for an ambush, but originally pistol ammo was to be limited, so it was going to house some, but now without it, it has entirely no purpose. In fact, a couple of seemingly pointless areas once provided pistol ammo. As a bonus, here are some extra leftovers of a kind that partly don't fit the criteria, but are still interesting nonetheless. When Tomb Raider Legend was remastered on PS3 in 2011, it used the Xbox 360 version from 2006 as a basis. Because of the huge graphical disparity, the 360 version of the gameplay videos that would play when you stay on the main menu for a while were used so the graphics matched, which makes sense. But a video editor had to, of course, overlay PlayStation button icons on top of the Xbox button prompts. A lot of the time they didn't match the actual prompts you are supposed to use, but the main point is that a couple of times Xbox icons slipped through, visible in the PS3 version. I can't imagine Sony or Microsoft would have been entirely okay with that. Similarly, in the tutorial page for picking up melee items in the PS4 version of Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the Xbox's X button icon, when it should be the PlayStation's square icon. I can see how this happened though, because they both have X buttons, and the X on the Xbox controller is where the square is on the PlayStation controller. The Xbox's X icon is also distinctly narrower than the PlayStation's X button. When it comes to the way Lara pulls herself up onto a ledge that has no wall for foot support in Legend, she does it in a very goofy, cartoony way. This was made more realistic in Anniversary, thankfully, but it turns out Crystal just reused an earlier version that was originally intended for Legend. Why not, I guess? In the PS2 and Wii version of Underworld, the developer, called Buzz Monkey, couldn't be asked to make a winter jacket for Amanda, so she's there in the Arctic level freezing in her default outfit. However, the PS2 and Wii versions would sometimes use cinematics recorded straight from the main versions where she did have a winter outfit, totally breaking continuity from one scene to the next. They could have just as easily put her in the default outfit when recording from the next gen versions, but just didn't. In the retail version of Tomb Raider 1, we see Lara using a knife to cut a rope she's hanging from instead of just letting go, strangely. But regardless, it brought up the question of why can't we use that knife in-game? Well, in an early version of this FMV, there's an extra wolf that she kills by throwing the knife at it and doesn't retrieve it. If I had to guess, I'd say they removed that shot for age rating reasons. It may sound contradictory, but it's not uncommon for age classification boards to see knife impalement as more problematic than shooting, probably because knives are more easily accessible, unless you're unfortunate enough to be American. In Rise of the Tomb Raider, from this pre-release footage, it looks like there would have been a shortcut from the health tutorial site straight back to outside the bear den with another campsite along the way. They probably removed this path so players wouldn't potentially skip the poison arrow gathering and crafting tutorial, but if you look closely here, you can see the remains of the original path. The reason why I put this bit in the bonus section of the video is because I believe they did successfully enough disguise the original path as just blocked off terrain, and is only noticeable when you actually know about it. Okay, there's probably a lot more, particularly with Angel of Darkness, but then one could argue that the released version of that game is the beta version, but feel free to specify any forgotten beta remnants you know of that I didn't cover. But what I was interested in was stuff that was deliberately changed from pre-release, but where remnants of that original version accidentally still remain viewable without cheats, because if you need cheats or hacks to see it, then in my opinion they have successfully hidden it from normal viewing. This is Seth Mackenzie, thank you so much for watching.